Sunny Bonani Dumalang, goeie aand, afternoon, bom dia. Welcome to episode 42. Today I was inspired to share a little story about birthing a baby. So if this is not for you, then just keep moving. Just keep moving, people. Just keep moving. But if you are curious and interested to hear a little story about birthing a baby, then stick around. So I had my firstborn many years ago. He's a teenager now, and it feels like almost a distant memory, but in the same breath and in the same sentence, it almost feels like it was literally just yesterday. So if you have ever birthed a child, brought another human into this world, the aspect and element of time is completely warped, right? Because some days feel like they take forever and years feel like they've gone by in just a second. So it's just like literally like Kronos, the god of time, is definitely fucking around with us when it comes to having kids. Okay. But today's story is really about my journey, especially with my firstborn, because by the time you've had the secondborn, you're already a little bit more familiar with the journey, right? But for the premises of today, yes, I feel called to just share a little bit about the experience that I had. And who knows, it might offer some provocative thought, thinking, and perhaps open up some contemplative thinking. So when I fell pregnant, I was probably around 31 years of age at that time. And I did what I felt intuitively, or not intuitively, let me actually retract that, okay? Because it wasn't intuition that was guiding me. It was societal standards and norms of what I should be doing. So I fell pregnant, did a pregnancy test, excitement. We were expecting and planning, so it wasn't like shock horror. So we were very excited about it. And of course, what do you do when you fall pregnant? You go and have a checkup, right? So where I stay in the particular country that I live, the first point of call and reference is generally the gynecologist. Yes. Okay, because that's that's the person. So I went off to see the fabulous gynecologist, and they do all the checky things and all that kind of stuff, and they ask, obviously, at that point in time, the form or how you're going to bring this baby into the world is really not discussed. Okay, at least this is my experience, guys. Please, this is my experience, so I'm just sharing my story with you. You may have had a different experience, and that would be fair. Drop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But yes, so there I was going off to see the gynae, and everything was fine, week by week by week, And at that particular point in time, I was a little uncertain of if I wanted to have a natural birth or cesarean, or everyone within my space and sphere had cesareans. So the country that I come from, South Africa, has got an 86% cesarean rate. So birthing or natural birthing is not what's the right word? The common practice. So most women have their babies through C-sections. So that was what I had to go on, right? Because I thought this was just the way it was. This is quite normal, actually. And it was so amazing because 28 weeks into my pregnancy, I met this amazing human who had just had her baby. And she shared the story and her experience with me around what she called, or what is known as, hypnobirthing. So if you know anything about hypnobirthing, it's essentially a practice and a form of meditation that helps reprogram the psyche and the mind to make it easier to birth your baby into this world naturally. So we have many preconceived notions and beliefs that have, unbeknown or beknown to us, been placed in our domain and in the matrix that we reside in. So she really opened up my eyes to the possibility of what bringing a human into this world could actually be. And thankfully, she had had a natural birth, and she shared her experience with me of how this natural birth was quite challenging, and she shared her reasons as to why. And that provided me with an enormous amount of information, aha moments. Needless to say, I was really intrigued by this. And the prospect of giving birth naturally was really something that I wanted to approach with my birth. So many benefits, which I feel extend outside of this video. But yes, I was feeling called and I was feeling competent and able to do this. Something which I had never, ever felt and experienced prior to me having met this fabulous woman. So she really gave me the courage to go kind of or contemplate this natural birth route. So needless to say, I was very intrigued and curious about this hypnobirthing. She gave me the contact of the lady who took her through this process, gave her a call, and she lived in my area. And before you know it, here's hubby and me undergoing this hypnobirthing process with this hypnobirthing practitioner. And within this process, she gave us a couple of rundowns of what was highly likely to happen if you went to hospital and you had a gynecologist, and what was likely to happen if you opted for a midwife and chose an alternate route outside of a traditional hospital. So be it a home birthing clinic or a home birth even, or something like that. So she gave us those two paradigms. And at the present moment, at that moment, I was with the gynecologist, and hey, I was just going to have my baby in the hospital because that's what you do. I mean, how many movies do you not see that? Like, everyone just rushes off to the hospital the minute that the waters break, which is all utter nonsense. But anyway, another episode. Okay, let's stay focused on the story. And so she kind of gave us those two paradigms. So I was already informed by these two juxtaposed possibilities. And at that time, like I said, we hadn't really discussed it with my gynecologist. It was kind of like just, I'm pregnant, I'm having a baby. That's what it was at 28 weeks. Needless to say that on week 29, I went in to see the gynae that I had been seeing this whole time. And everything was fab. Baby was doing so well. I was doing marvelous. Everything was hanky-dory. And on that particular visit, 29 weeks in, I mentioned it to him. And I explicitly stated that I would like to have a natural vaginal birth. I hope I don't get screened because I said that word. But hey, anyway, here it is. I've said it. So yes, I was met with this face of utter horror. True's word. My husband was with me at the time, okay? And a complete look of utter confusion. And I proceeded to tell this gynecologist who I'd been seeing up until this point that I wished to give birth in a natural birthing facility, which was not too far off from his practice. He very quickly and explicitly explained to me that he did not operate or practice outside of the hospital that his practice was in, and that he would not be able to be there to birth the child. He also, in that particular checkup, and only in this particular checkup, did he inform me that my hips were far too small. Too small. I would never, ever, ever be able to push out the baby. He said I wouldn't be able to do it. Thankfully, this fabulous human who we had met for this hypnobirthing course and practice had already given us all these potential problems that may arise when you inform your gynecologist of your natural birthing procedure that you wish to follow. So I'm so grateful for that, because I went in equipped, knowing that this could, in fact, be something that happens. And I was so skeptical at that time. I was like, oh, no, man, my gynae's fab. He's so game for anything. Well, needless to say, that was my last appointment with him for that particular birth. So I walked out feeling a little confused, a little saddened, and a little disempowered. I proceeded to educate myself and empower myself through books, through talking to other women who had given birth naturally. And I was gifted at 31 weeks, guys. 31 weeks. Okay, if you've had children, you know 31 weeks, and then you got to try to find yourself another like doctor or midwife is like. At 31 weeks, I found this fabulous midwife. I'm so grateful for her, because she was just a godsend, literally. And she only took me on as a patient or a client because I was undergoing the practice of hypnobirthing. And she loved that. She said all the patients she's ever had, or clients who had done hypnobirthing, have had easy, seamless births. So she was like, hey, let's go. Let's give it a go. Let's see if there's, a little bit of chemistry between us, and then let's give it a go. So yes, thank you. I thank Karen, fabulous midwife. Yes, here I was, 31 weeks, and I was educating myself and listening to these audios about birthing your baby, and literally programming myself, mentally and physically preparing my body for this new route that I was going to be taking. And I remember reading this hypnobirthing book that came with the practice that I was doing. And it was just such a powerful book, because it documented the history of birthing from a woman's perspective, and how we had the episiotomy era, how we had the forcep era, how we had the cesarean era, and how almost certain decades had been mapped out by these invasive procedures, which had been brought about by men, interestingly enough. And this book, as much as it pointed out those aspects and elements, it also made reference to how birthing was just an innate, natural thing for a woman to undergo. And it really primed me and gave me the confidence to believe that I was able to do this. Like, we're designed to birth these miracles into this world. That's why our womb is so sacred, and the feminine is just such a powerful essence, and probably why the feminine aspect has been suppressed and disempowered, because there is so much power that resides within being a woman, and more importantly, in birthing a human being into this world. Like, we're literally birthing a live human. Okay, just take some time to contemplate that idea. We're like creators in the flesh. And guys, I just want to tell you that I birthed my first child completely naturally. No drugs, no epidurals, no episiotomies, nothing. that one wasn't home birth. My second child was a home birth, but in a natural birthing clinic, because, my husband still wanted the safeness of having something available if we needed to. And it was just the most empowering, beautiful experience that I have ever experienced. The fact that you were able to tap into such power when you were birthing this human is just indescribable. There's very little that comes close to that. And it really it just made me wonder why we've created this world and a society to believe that women can't give birth naturally, or to make women fear it, and perhaps this is a good time for me to make reference to what prompted this episode today about birthing a baby. I was reading some statistics about women and how women now, well, not now, but generally, if just think about a movie. That's where I'm going to just leave it there. Okay, just think about a movie. When you see the woman giving birth, traditionally they're in a hospital and they're lying down on a bed. Okay, that is the worst way you can possibly be to give birth. You're literally fighting against gravity. In fact, it makes it 33% more challenging and difficult, and likely for there to be something that goes wrong because the body isn't in the right position to birth the child. So yes, as much as it is easier for the doctor or the practitioner who's helping bring this baby out, it's harder for the person giving birth. Okay, so I guess that article made me really just fired something up inside of me where I was called to share this and remember the power of this. I would have to say that for my first birth, the most powerful point in the process was right towards the end. I was so tired, guys. I was really, really exhausted, okay? Laboring for a couple of hours, not too long, but probably maybe 4-5 hours. And I remember that my husband got into the bath with me because I had a water birth. And my husband got into the bath with me. Oh, and the second that I was told to straddle over him so that my pelvis could be down, the minute that I just touched him, it's almost like I was sucking up all his energy. And that gave me the strength to just continue. So that was one thing that I wanted to mention. Having your partner there with you is just so powerful. Okay, so when the men have to wait outside the room, guys, I don't know what that's about. Okay, but the other aspect that I want to mention in the story today, and maybe the final element for today's episode, is when my midwife told me, I was really tired now, just setting the scene here. Okay, I'm thinking geez, girl, I don't know if I can do this. And right towards almost the end, the baby started to crown. And I remember my midwife saying, yeah, feel the crowning of the head. And I remember feeling my baby's head crowning. It was the strangest feeling because you're feeling down there, and then you're whoa, but I can't feel anything that's mine, but I feel something, and it's kind of oh my God, it's a head. And then yes, I felt my little guy's head, and let me tell you, the endorphins come flooding back in, the mojo ignites, and you're fuck yeah, bitch, I can do this. And you get that wind and you do what you need to do, or nature helps you do what you need to do, guys. So I guess I would just like to leave you with this last thought. Do you know that it's possible for a woman who is in a coma? In fact, there is a woman who was in a coma, who was pregnant and gave birth naturally. Okay. So the body is designed by absolute perfection. The muscles that we have within our abdominal area and around our uterus are specifically designed and catered to know how to help and aid and ease the baby out. So that's what those contractions, or in hypnobirthing, you get encouraged to rather use the word surges. So they're like waves, almost like the muscles are like waves that are helping push the baby down and out. And this woman who was in a coma was able to do it naturally with no intervention. Her body did everything automatically. And I was like, wow, if this chick in a coma can do it, then that's pretty inspiring, right? And you might be wondering or questioning, but why do so many women have cesareans, right? I'm not even sure if it's the right episode to speak about that now, because I'm already 21 minutes in after sharing my story, and I feel like I haven't even done it justice, to be honest with you. But there's many things that can cause a woman to not dilate when she's in labor. Stress and anxiety and the belief that you're unable to is the number one and primary driver to that. So when you're in a hospital setting generally, it's almost like you're going through a drive-through. And there's pressure for you to get this little thing out, right? It's not really a calm and serene process. And please note, I'm not saying all hospitals, all countries, all practitioners. Once again, this is kind of like my experience and the experiences I've heard from other women. So yes, I do feel that it's just a completely different environment, and it makes me realize that the environment that you choose to birth and bring your child into this world is so important. And we don't speak about that enough, do we? We just think that it should just happen in hospitals where people who are ill and sick and having procedures and have medical conditions, like that is what a hospital is for me. It is definitely not a place and space where you should be birthing new life and having this miracle come into being. Not to say that there aren't miracles available and accessible within hospitals, but it just seems counterintuitive for me, if you know what I mean. And then the baby's born in these bright lights and has the umbilical cord clamped straight away, and just, if you start going down the rabbit holes of what starts to happen to a child through the cesarean route, your eyes literally start to widen this big. The fascia doesn't yield properly within the skull. The sensorials, the biomicro, or the aspects and elements which make a baby stronger are lost. So when a baby comes through the mother's vagina, there's a whole host of stuff that's been released, as you can imagine, because when a woman's pushing, she's pushing. So lots of things are coming out, okay? But that aspect is all part of the process, okay? It's all part of the process. And it's actually necessary and required in order for the baby to be exposed to some form of bacteria, so that the immune systems innately and automatically gets almost activated. So, guys, there's just so many things that I would love to share from this aspect and from this element. So much so that I almost like don't know where to start. And I didn't realize how passionate and how excited I actually was about this topic until I've just started seeing how like big my eyes are and how my body language is just today, and how much I want to say, and I'm not even certain how to break it down because there's just so much that I feel I need to cover. So, as always, these episodes are more for me than for anyone else. Like I say, if anyone else benefits from these vlogs, then that's just a bonus and the cherry on the cake for me. But they are really more to facilitate getting to know myself, improving my communication skills, getting to foster and understand what topics and what aspects and elements generates a lot of excitement with me, and just ultimately get to know myself better, like I've said. So we're 26 minutes into this episode, and I will definitely be speaking more about this, and perhaps speaking about my second birth, which was very different from my first birth. But I already had a little bit more of an understanding of the feasibility and the possibility that was natural birthing. So it came with different aspects and elements compared to the first experience. But yes, here we are, magical human. I hope that my voice of my recorder is still on. Yes, apologies for that. I always, I've had a couple of mishaps where I think I switched on the recorder and then I haven't switched on the recorder, or the recorder kind of switches off by itself. I'm not quite sure, but just checking, but it is still on, so I'm so glad. So yes, you delicious human, it's 27:15 almost on the clock, and as always, continue to sow those seeds. I'll definitely be sowing a few more of seeds on this topic. Allowing for the flow of life to find you so that you may ultimately grow, illuminate, and glow. Until tomorrow's episode 43, stay delicious, stay peaceful, and keep your heart open. See you then.